what's going on, y'all? It's your boy Ned Mac. Like I said, I'll be right back. It's DFS Stats and Facts. You know what time it is, man. Gotta get y'all ready for these Sunday games. Couple Saturday games today, man. Games going on right now. It is Saturday. Tried to get on here Friday, but I was exhausted. I was working. I work hard. That's what I do. But man, again, also thank you every time, man. This is every time. I just want to thank everybody for subscribing. Thank you for the love, support, and all that. I really appreciate it. Tap that bell if you haven't already. Why not? I'm really on here. And also, NBA season right around the corner. Tough loss for the Sixers last night, but I ain't here to talk about that. Sixers, NBA is right around the corner, and I got y'all back, man. I got y'all back with basketball as well. But today, I'm here to talk about these Sunday games. Tomorrow. But yeah, getting right into it. Draftkings, man, they're having a 2 million champ series slant. They always have these weird titles. Champ series slant, 500K the first, $9 entry. Why not? They have other cash games you can hop into. But yeah, man, that's like their main game, featured game. So I'm gonna talk about that. DraftKings, make it rain with REIG. You get it. But yeah, man, let's get right into it. DFS value. I'm jumping off the boat with Philip Lindsay, man. It's crazy. 5,300, right? Last week, he was balling out. He wasn't. He gave you 3.2, which is nothing. But this week, I'm hoping, because he has a great matchup against Detroit, who is 30th against running backs, that he actually turns up and at least gives you that touchdown or a touchdown and a half. So, like, I don't know what's up with Lindsey this year. It's been a tough year. I know he's ready to get this year over with, man. It's been a tough year for the Denver organization, period. But yeah, man, Philip Lindsay, 5,300, that's a great price. Another guy, you got Laird, who also had a bad week last week. I get it. But he has another great matchup against Cincinnati, who is 32nd against running backs and 25th against stopping the run. So put Laird in there. Why not? Give him a shot. He had 12 attempts last week, 46 yards. He didn't do well for me either. I went for him last week, and he did me dirty. But I'm not here to talk about that. DJ Moore, man, another good guy for DFS value, I believe. This week, last week he did have a good week. He had 8 receptions, 113 yards. Didn't get the touchdown, but he gave you the 23.3 fantasy. I think he's going to be another good pick this week, depending on how his team plays, though. But yeah, DJ Moore, 6,900 for him. And then stars in charge, of course, man. Surprise, surprise. You got Lamar Jackson on here again. He's 8 racks. Gave you 39.1 in fantasy last week. He only had 212? Yeah, 212 passing yards. But he had the 5 touchdowns. And he had 8 attempts on the ground. You already know. Congrats to him. Passing the records and doing all that. But yeah, 86 yards with his feet. So yeah, that's Lamar Jackson. They got Cleveland this week, so it should be a good game. But yeah, I'm going to talk more about the Ravens later on, though. I got a lot to talk about today. Drew Brees, man, another star in charge. Great outing for him last week. 6,900. Congrats on him passing that record as well, the record that he passed. But yeah, he's 6,900, like I said, 31.3 last week, 307 yards, 4 touchdowns, and he was 29 for 30. That's beautiful. Elite sleeps. I gotta start it off with the Monday night running back now. Boone, man. Boone will be playing and starting for the Vikings on Monday. I repeat, Dalvin Cook is out. Madison is out. Boone is in. 4,900, 17.6 last week, 13 attempts, 56 yards, and 2 touchdowns. 2 cheapies, but hey, touchdowns are touchdowns here in fantasy, man. Boom, put him in there. He's going against Green Bay. He's 24th against the rush and 21st against running backs. Why not? Another elite sleep. You remember this guy? Adam Thielen, 5,700. He only gave you 6 fantasy last week, but I think he's going to give you a little bit more, especially because you only have Boone down. You know what I mean? They had Dalvin Cook and all that earlier, and he was still getting love. But I think him, Diggs, and maybe even Rudolph might be getting some love this week. But I'm sticking with Thielen, man. Thielen, he's got to get something. 3 receptions, only 3 receptions last week, 27 yards. I think he gets more this week. Adam Thielen, he was on my mind. I put him in my notes. Darius Slayton, another guy. Elite sleep. 5,500 is his price this week, 11.1 he had last week. 2 receptions, 37 yards, and 1 touchdown. He is going against Washington, who is surprisingly 14th against wide receivers. I did not know that until today. And back up to Thielen real quick. Green Bay is 22nd against stopping the pass. So something you need to know. Uh, just throwing that in there. Keep your mind going. Jumping over to running backs running ish last week because it was a bunch of them. You had Christian McCaffrey. Surprise, surprise again. 10,100 is his price. Very hefty, but he backs it up. Yeah. So 19 attempts, 87 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he also had 8 receptions for 88 yards. Gave you 37.5 fantasy. He's going against Indianapolis, who is surprisingly sixth against running back. So we'll see what happens there. Indianapolis really needs a good win, man. At least to end off the year. They had a really I feel bad for them a little bit because they really had a good start of the year, and I thought they were going to play well, but then injuries started hitting them up, and you know, injuries and injuries. But also you got my boy Carson on here, 8,500 this week. 24 attempts, 133 yards, 2 touchdowns, gave you 29.7 last week. Say, who I said was going to go off, and he did. Just that, 8,300, 24 attempts off 112 yards, 2 touchdowns, gave you 33.3. Now, he's going against Washington, who is 27th against running backs and 28th against stopping the run. And Carson is going against his friendly neighborhood rivals pretty much, Arizona, who is 23rd against stopping running backs and 25th against stopping the rush. So you want to keep that in mind if you are going to put them in. They are literally, again, like right down the line running back wise, but they all went in last week, so they deserve it, right? Bums to stay away from. Don't put these guys in. Phillip Rivers, 5,700, man. Phillip Rivers really started off the year pretty strong, but near the tail end and really in the middle there, Chargers, man, I say it's Melvin Gordon's fault. Melvin Gordon should just stayed away because they were doing fine without him. That's just my opinion. But yeah, Phillip Rivers, 5,700. He had 307 yards. Dope, right? Yeah, 1 touchdown, but he also threw 3 interceptions. With those 3 interceptions, he only gave you 15.3 fantasy. That ain't gonna fly with me. 28 for 39, which is really dope that he did all that, but the 3 interceptions just erase everything. Oakland is 26th against quarterbacks and 27th against stopping the pass. So, again, he should have a good game, but I just don't know anymore. Phillip Rivers, man, it's sad. But you got Kyle Allen for Carolina. Yeah, Carolina, 5,200. 14.6 last week, which is terrible. 277 yards, 1 touchdown, and again, 3 interceptions. That was like the theme last week with bums to stay away from. You want to know who else threw with 3 interceptions? Eli Manning. And the Giants are already a step ahead of me because they were like, yeah, we know he's a bum to stay away from because they're putting the other boy back in. Excuse me, I'm sorry. They're putting the other kid back in over him. So Eli is gone just as fast as he came back. So I was like, all right, Eli's not even playing, so I got to give him one more. So yeah, Drew Lock, 5,600, right? 7.6 fantasy, balling last week. 208 yards, 0 touchdowns and an interception. He has a very favorable matchup, though, this week against Detroit. So if you're in a deeper league or if you're just feeling a little lucky and you want to put Drew Luck in there, or Drew Lock in there, go for it, I guess. But for me, personally, he's a bum to stay away from. Detroit is 30th against quarterbacks and 31st against stopping the pass, though. So you want to keep that in mind. Now, my tight end's turning up. I apologize for not mentioning this guy on my last episode, and he actually plays today. You still have a little bit of time. And his name is George Kittle, 6,500, 13 receptions, 134, gave you 29.4 fantasy last week. But there's a couple other tight ends on here. And I want to talk about Jonnu Smith, who is 3,800, really low, man, very low for tomorrow. You should definitely use him because the Titans have been doing good and been turning up with boy Tannehill. But yeah, 3,800, 5 receptions, 60 yards, gave you 16.7 fantasy. The Saints, however, are 12th against tight ends. So you might want to keep that in mind playing him this week. But yeah, the way Tannehill's been playing, honestly, and just Titans as an organization, they've been doing pretty good. So it might be a good game against the Saints, who some weeks they're the Saints, and then some weeks they ain't so much. So we'll see what happens. But Waller, you got Waller on here, 6,100. 8 receptions, 122 yards last week. He's going against the Chargers, who is 6th against tight ends. So you have great tight ends on here, but they do have some crazy matchups on paper. Do not let that go against you. That's why I say if it's good, say if it's bad. because with fantasy, sometimes it really does not matter. So you got to go with your gut too. Yeah, fantasy defense wins chips too. This was the hardest segment for me this week. But I went with the Raiders defense. 2,300. They're going against the Chargers. You want to know the best week that the Raiders had this year, defense wise? It was week 10 against the Chargers. They gave you 17 fantasy points. They only allowed, well, not only allowed, but they allowed 24 points, but they had 3 interceptions. They had 5 sacks, and they also added a defensive touchdown. So do not sleep on the Raiders defense this week, who is very low at 2,300. Remember I said it. Also with defenses, I was going to go with the Ravens defense, but what stopped me is not only the price of the 4,000, but they only gave you -1 when they played against the Browns last time. All the way back in week 4. So what? They allowed 40 points, okay? 40 points. And they got an interception, but they allowed 40 points. So it don't really matter. And gave you -1 fantasy. So I was like, I'm not going to tell you about the Ravens. I told you about the Ravens, but obviously that's not a defense I'm telling y'all to pick this week. But the way the Browns been, anyway. 49ers defense is another defense I want to talk to y'all about. 3,400. They only allowed a touchdown last time they played the Rams, and they gave you 10 flat, but they had a fumble recovery and 4 sacks. So I was like, I'll talk about the 49ers defense this week going against the Rams. However, please keep in mind that the Rams are actually trying to play now because they're noticing that they got to turn it up just a little bit to get where they need to be. But yeah, 49ers defense, man. That is the defenses. Yeah, that's all I really had on defenses. But let me go to my... I did. Is that everything? I know that's not everything. But I'm to stay away from. Titans turning up. Defense. I've been all over the place. DFS value, elite sleeps.